Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is Eisenherz and today I will address one of the cards I personally hate and refuse to play. Of course, I'm talking about the foreseeing fish person that is commonly referred to as Thassa's Oracle. And my personal opinion is that way too many decks, especially those of people who are just transitioning into CEDH, play Thassa's Oracle, although they should not be, because Thassa's Oracle is a bad card. But stop. Before you close the video, let me explain what I mean by that and give you a few examples when you should play Thassa's Oracle in your deck and when you should not play Thassa's Oracle in your deck. Let's first check what Thassa's Oracle actually does. It's a 1/3 Merfolk Wizard that costs 2 blue to cast and has an ETB trigger which reads: when Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library where X is your devotion to blue. Put one of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library, in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. If we break it down a bit further, there are basically two effects. One is a pretty mediocre pseudo scry effect that allows you to dig a little bit into your deck, and the other is a you win the game effect, as long as a certain requirement is met. 100% of CEDH decks that play Thassa's Oracle play it because of the second effect. Nobody cares about that pseudo scry effect. It's just not an effect that is good enough to be played in CEDH. Now, if we exclude Thassa's Oracle's game-winning potential for just a moment, it is simply a bad card. A card you would not want to draw into in the middle of a game, when you are trying to grind value, stop someone from going off, or need an answer to something that's stopping you from going off. The only time you actually want to have access to Thassa's Oracle is when you're actively going for a win. So let's now focus on the secondary effect, the you win the game effect. For Thassa's Oracle to win you the game, you will have to have equal or less cards in your library than your devotion to blue. Luckily, CEDH has multiple ways of achieving this with a minimal board state. Not by having a huge devotion to blue, but by having no cards in your library when the Thassa's Oracle trigger resolves. This can be achieved incredibly easily with the following combos. Thassa's Oracle plus Demonic Consultation. This is by far the most compact game-ending combo in CEDH. It's literally a 2-card, 3-mana combo that is fairly resilient and therefore sees play in all decks that have access to the cards. Also, Demonic Consultation is a decent instant speed tutor. Thassa's Oracle plus Tainted Pact. This is a very similar combo. It costs 1 mana more, but Tainted Pact is an overall better card than Demonic Consultation. Thassa's Oracle plus Doomsday. This is a more mana-intensive and less resilient combo, but it can also allow you to win the game pretty easily with a Thassa's Oracle trigger. Thassa's Oracle plus Paradigm Shift. Another combo that allows you to exile your library and easily win with a Thassa's Oracle trigger. Thassa's Oracle plus Thought Lash. Yet another combo that allows you to exile your library. Thassa's Oracle plus any mill combo. Examples are Nomad's Ankar plus Cephalid Illusionist or Basalt Monolith plus Mesmeric Orb. These will also allow you to easily and effectively win with a Thassa's Oracle trigger because you can reduce the size of your library by milling cards. So what do all of these combos have in common? All of them reduce the size of your library without giving you access to the cards you just milled or exiled, with some commander-specific exceptions like Grolnok. For the most part though, you lose access to the cards that used to be in your library, and therefore you have to rely on Thassa's Oracle to win the game. And that's exactly when you should play Thassa's Oracle. If you have an easy way of exiling or milling your library without gaining access to your cards, Thassa's Oracle is a must include in your deck. Okay, now that we know when to actually play Thassa's Oracle, we also have to know when we shouldn't play Thassa's Oracle. The answer is actually quite simple. You don't really want to play Thassa's Oracle because outside of being a combo piece or a win con, it's not a good card. So when my game-ending combo involves infinite mana and the ability to gain access to almost all of the cards in my library, I should be able to win the game without Thassa's Oracle, and I therefore have no need to waste a slot on it or the bad cards that allow me to mill or exile my library like Paradigm Shift or Thought Lash. This simply allows me to just play better cards. Let's be a bit more specific and let me give you guys a few examples. Urza is a deck that seeks to create infinite mana and dump it into Urza's activated ability. This ability allows us to exile our whole library, and we could, in theory, just cast a Thassa's Oracle to win the game from there. But we don't. We perform a convoluted step of actions that allow us to win the game with good cards that we actually want to play in the deck and that have value outside of being a win con. Why is that? Well, because Urza doesn't simply exile the cards from our library, he also grants us access to them. You could say it is a pseudo-draw effect. With infinite mana and the ability to gain access to all the cards from our library, we can perform tons of different steps with the cards we already have and without wasting a slot on a card that is literally nothing else than a win con. This raises the overall card quality in our deck, and we don't have to worry about drawing into a Thassa's Oracle when we actually need interaction, removal, a tutor, or some other form of gas. Another example would be Omnath Locus of Creation. Once I go infinite with Emil and Dockside and have infinite mana and start flickering Omnath to draw my deck, I could just cast a Thassa's Oracle to win the game. But I don't need to waste a slot on a bad card when I have infinite mana and access to all the cards in my library. After drawing my deck, I can just pivot into an Underworld Breach combo to mill my opponents out. I could also just perform a spell loop with Emil and Eternal Witness. I could cast all my creatures and a huge Finale of Devastation, or I could flick a Dryad Arbor to kill my opponents with Omnath. All of these win cons involve cards that I want to play in the deck anyway, because they have value in the deck outside of being a win con. So again, you shouldn't waste a slot on Thassa's Oracle if your game-winning combo involves infinite mana and access to your whole deck, be it by drawing cards or some kind of pseudo-draw effect. Okay, let's summarize this one last time. If you can exile or mill your library without gaining access to the cards you just milled or exiled, then you should play Thassa's Oracle as an efficient and compact win con. If, however, your game-ending combo involves a lot of mana and access to almost all the cards in the library, you should be able to win the game without Thassa's Oracle just by playing the cards that are already in your deck. And in that case, you should not play Thassa's Oracle. And that's it. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, leave a comment down below, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This is Eisenherz and Auf Wiedersehen.